Hi, my name is Guna. Welcome to my training on free AI models for enterprise use cases. So, this is going to be a short introductory course on the concepts and use cases for open models, free models, or local AI models. Okay, so this course will cover four different modules. It will take probably around 1 hour at most. We'll look into the first module. We'll start by looking into one use case example where there is a video demonstration on how an AI assistant designed to work as a GHG Scope 3 data collection staff or agent. Okay, and then we'll go into module 2, which will look into the concepts of this free, open, or local AI models. Okay, we look into why they're trending now, some of the benefits and disadvantages of this type of AI models. And then for module 3, we look into the concepts and how what it takes to build a solution. So this includes the hardware requirements and also the software requirements to build and run models in your own PC. And then we move on to the last module, which will cover another use case example. So this will be another short video demonstration on how and data entry AI assistant works, which is built using a free AI model. So, by going through this course, you should be able to understand the concepts and capabilities of free models, open models, local models. If you notice, I'm using these terms free, open, local interchangeably, but they all refer to the same concept, but there are also some difference which we'll look into later. And then we also look at you should also be able to identify use cases for these models within your workflows or your enterprise. Before we start, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Gunasilan. This is my contact details. I am a mechanical engineer by qualification, and I'm also a HRD Corp accredited trainer. And my primary job is a sustainability consultant. So this is how I'm exposed to workflows within the industry, and I'm also exploring how we can use AI for my projects and also my clients. We start with the first module, the use case one demonstration. Okay, so in this case, this is going to be an illustration on how I've designed a so-called AI system that works as a greenhouse gas emissions data tracking stuff. Okay, you can call it a stuff because it kind of works as a stuff. Okay, so the concept and context for this is okay. The industry is obviously sustainability. If you go a bit more detail on that, the use case is greenhouse gas emissions reporting. Okay, and a bit more specific on the workflow is getting scope 3 data. So scope 3 data is where a large enterprise they have to get their vendors or their suppliers emissions data. Okay, so this one, the context or use case of this will be the client, which is the larger enterprise. They will design this AI assistant, and then they will give it to their vendors or their suppliers, and their suppliers will be the primary user of this AI model. Okay, so see if you see the concept, right? Okay, it's going to be the larger corporation designing this, and then they are giving it to their suppliers as a so-called support staff. Okay, that can help these vendors, which are mainly SMEs or small companies. So generally, they wouldn't have the sort of capabilities or workforce to look into this specifically. So this is where this AI can play a role. Okay. So the specific workflows involved for this AI assistant. So it will be able to do all these processes. Okay, as an AI assistant. Okay, we will start. This AI will start the process by giving step by step guide to the manager in SME. Okay, the vendor or the supplier for this larger corporation. So when they start using it, this SME start using it. Okay, assuming the manager is or some decision maker in that company is going to start using this, and they will start by chatting with the AI agent. Okay, so this agent will be able to kind of facilitate the process by telling them what you should do, how you should start, and all that. Okay, so and the primary user interface or primary interaction mode for this AI is going to be a chat interface. So it will start by creating a database, okay, as per configured schema or requirement. So this one, let's say the client, right, the larger enterprise, they will have a requirement set up saying that okay, I need this data, I need this format and all that. So this agent, this AI assistant will be able to set up this data schema within their vendor's computer, and then start collecting data as per the requirement. Okay, so it will be able to create folders. Okay, it also be able to create files. Okay, and then after that, this vendor, the manager, okay, they can assign people to start collecting the data. Okay, so for example, if they need for example their energy, water usage and all that, right? So this they can assign maybe a clerk who's dealing with the water bills, the TNB bills and all that. So they just need to assign this person, saying that this person is going to be in charge. You collect the data from them. Okay, and by assigning them, this AI will be able to kind of send an email to this particular person, because once you get the email, it will send an email to the person saying that you've been assigned as for this particular role, and you should submit this data to reply by replying this email at these intervals or something like that. Okay, and then after that, this AI assistant will also be able to follow up on the data. So if let's say if there's no information received from the assigned person in charge, you can check the email. You can also send a reminder saying that, hey, you're missing out on this data. Please get back to me as soon as possible. Okay. And then, more interesting is, once you receive the email or the data, this AI assistant is able to automatically download the data, for example, a PDF, and then it's able to extract whatever key information that is required. So we set the data schema in the early stage. So this agent knows, okay, for this particular use case, for example, TNB bill, I must look into the date, the usage, kilowatt hour, the time period, etc. So this data will be able to be extracted automatically from the PDF and then saved in an Excel file. Okay, and then this agent can also be able to update the status to the manager, or even there's other workflows that can be included as part of this, but for our demonstration we'll be sticking to only to this part. Okay, up to this point. Okay, so now we'll look into this short video on how it works, and then let me get back to you guys after that. So this is a short demonstration on how we can use AI to create simple AI assistants that can perform specific workflows. And the context here is going to be this is a system that is created to be used by small business owners, where they have to collect data, specifically greenhouse emissions related data that needs to be submitted to their clients. Okay, so this how it works is, there is a chat interface where the business owner, they can assign tasks to people, like maybe their subordinates, like person A will collect data A, person B will collect data B, etc. And then they can also create the database. They can create files. They can also check email. They can send email. They can download stuff from email. And also, let's say there's a data coming in from somebody. They can download the data. They can also use the data to fill up an Excel file. So this is the capabilities of this agent. And I mean, don't worry about the details here. The user interface is probably quite crude, and okay, it's not really refined. Okay, here the idea is proof of concept, like what we can do with this sort of AI. Okay, so we will start by creating. So this AI literally introduces itself. Okay, what we need to do and all that, and the step by step process can be defined in the AI's workflow. So here we will start by creating the database. So the AI asked you, I mean, the AI asked the business owner, and we'll just say yes, proceed. So what will happen now is this will create a folder in the desktop, which will be used to collect the data that we want to collect. Okay, so we see that the AI responded by saying that the database is set up, and you can see it in your desktop. Okay, and so let's look into that. So this is the folder that was created. Okay, you see the folder here, and then it has subfolders, and there's also a file. Okay, and this file will collect the most basic information, such as waste, energy, and you can see who are the assigned people for the roles, and then the log for whatever action that is being done by this AI. Of course, all this can be custom made, can be refined, can be designed in a way to suit your own needs. So this is just one example. So we'll go back, and then we will ask it to, we will, because the AI suggested, okay, the next step, since we have the database, you need to have person in charge that can send you the information so that this AI can start collecting the data. Okay, so we will assign a person for waste. So let's assign, I'll just assign myself to collect waste data. His email is, okay. So what it will do is it will log these details into the system so that in future this AI can just communicate with this person to get the data and all that. So you see here, recorded the data. Okay, so we have assigned this person to collect the data, and then if you look at this here, I have built a simple dashboard for illustration. Again, this dashboard can be as complicated or as detailed as it needed to be. So here we can see that the manager can see who he assigned for the particular role. Okay, it's going to be my this person, this name, and then there is an initiation email sent to the person saying that, okay, you must start doing this. So we will look into this email. So this email was sent to this person, right? So I'll log into my email. You can see here. Okay, it says that you have been assigned to as the point of contact to collect this data every week. Please reply to this email. So what I have to do is, as the person being assigned, I just have to reply this email with the data. So we'll go back into that later. But in before that, okay, I'm just going to show another example here. So we can communicate with this AI agent to check the status of the information, and this can be done either by initiating a conversation, or it can even be programmed into the AI agents or assistants so-called logic, so that it will check this information every week automatically. Let's say, for example, on Monday morning at 9 a.m., it will check the email. If there's no information being collected, it can also send like a reminder email. So in this case, we will just tell this AI assistant uh, to send an email or reminder email. Okay, so we ask you to check the email. If it's not there, if the information is not received, then we will ask you to send a reminder. So in this case, I've not sent any information. Okay, so it says that, okay, no active email threads containing. Okay, so it checked our email, which is, let me open up the email. Okay, so this is a particular email that I used to as a receiving email. So in this case, okay, so we'll ask the AI agent to send a reminder to Guna so that the data is submitted as soon as possible. Okay, so we will see this. Okay, so we ask to send a reminder, and then we can check the email. There should be a reminder being submitted soon. Okay, so we see here. So when what we did was we just communicated with this chat interface, and then it just automatically created an email saying that, what, you're missing this when you're supposed to do this. Please get back to us with the data. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna act as this person that I'm supposed to submit the information, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna reply the original email. Okay, so I'm gonna reply with this information. Okay, this is a mock information for waste data. It's a very simple one. We have waste ticket date. What is the worst waste? quantity or volume, and then the type of waste. So I mean, in real life, this is going to be your waste docket, or any sort of data that you mean reference document that you use to collect the data. So I'm just going to send the reply using attaching this document. So this is the email that I'm going to reply with. I'm going to send. So this will be received to my particular email sorry, this will be received by the boss. Okay. So now you see we have this email being received by from the person in charge to the person that is collecting that information. So since we have this, okay, I'm going to ask the AI to check. Of course, this checking also can be automated. I mean, it doesn't need to be initiated by a chat. This can be like, automatically every week. At this point of time, you just check the email. If there's information, you collect the data, do whatever you have to do. Okay. Check mail if there is data, update database. Okay, see, the AI assistant was able to check the email. Okay, and then it found one document that is not processed, and then it took the data information and then it put into the database. So we'll look into it. This email it was not read just now. I mean, it was unread just now, right? So now when refresh, it's already been accessed by the AI assistant. Now it's being read, and this AI agent assistant was able to collect this data. So we look into the sample of that. So this is the database. Okay, and we look at it. If you look at it, this file is from the email. So it downloaded the file and then it attached a prefix, a timestamp prefix, so that this data can be tracked back to this particular file. Okay, and then if you look at our database, the so-called database, there's all this information that is being captured from the waste docket that was sent to us. So we look at the file here. So look at the Excel. Okay, so this is the file name. This is the file name. Okay, and then if you look at the ticket date is this one. The volume is this one, and the type of waste is plastic. So what this AI assistant did was it downloaded the file from the email, it extracted the data from the email, and then it put it into a structured database. So this was a very simple demonstration or proof of concept on how we can use private AI models, open AI models to create custom AI assistants. So the advantage here is this is free to use as long you have a decent enough hardware. This can be used in your PC, and the data stays within your PC, and it's free, right? Okay, so the workflows that we saw was it was able to create a database which contain folders, subfolders, files, and then create a data schema inside the file. Okay, and then it was able to assign or onboard a new person into the workflow. It was able to send a reminder email to them, and then it was also able to extract the data that we receive from the other person through the email. It checked the PDF file, it downloaded the PDF file, and then updated the PDF information, the information that is required from the PDF file into a preset data schema that we configured. So this is actually, if you can see the value of this, you know that this can be applied in many different use cases. This architecture is replicable in many different use cases. Okay, that was the video. I hope you get a good idea on what the AI assistant can do, the capabilities, and how it works. Okay, so now let's look at the next slide. Okay, so if you notice, this agent, it's covering one part of the workflow. Okay, so if in this use case, right? Okay, when we're collecting data from the client has to collect data from the vendor. Okay, there are many so-called silos. Okay, different individuals and different departments that are involved here. Okay, so we start with, okay, in this case. Uh, the person who has the resources is going to be the larger enterprise. Okay, so they will usually have their own sustainability team, manager, and some people who got the time and resources to design this kind of system. So ideally, they will design this sort of solution. Okay, and their requirement is they have many vendors, so hundreds of vendors, sometimes thousands of vendors. Okay, and they need some help to someone to an AI to kind of facilitate the process to get the data in a systematic way, and also uh, once you got the data, you can also kind of check the quality of the data, and etc. So they will design and orchestrate this AI system, and then they will give it to their vendor, and the vendor will kind of download and install the system, and then they will able to operate like how you saw just now. Okay, so what they did was they were able to assign the person to collect the data, and then we also saw this part where the data is collected, it's sent back to the manager, and then how the data is extracted from the raw file and then saved in an Excel file. So you see, these sort of things can be done. Okay, and then apart from that, a lot of other things can be done as well. Okay, so this is one silo that we talked about for this AI agent. Okay, we can also design another completely different agent that works on the larger client or on the bigger enterprise, like this side. Okay, so once the data is coming in, for example, okay, so see, once the data is coming in, this one we saw this. Okay, once the data is coming in from these vendors, and in real life they'll have probably hundreds or thousands of vendors, so this amount of data, it's a very messy or very confusing sort of work to be done by whoever that is working on the client side. And AI is actually kind of good with this sort of workflows. Okay, so when all this input are coming, okay, we can design an AI system that can also check the data for quality. Okay, this can be done in both sides. In the vendor side itself, it will pre-vet the data and then say that okay, there's it meets a certain uh, criteria, so we can give it this to the client. And then once the client receives the data, they can have another AI system. They can look into those data to say that okay, this is my reporting standard, and where my current data stands. And if it's not enough, it can also send a reminder back to the vendor saying that you have to get back to me with this additional data, etc. Okay, so these things can be done. Okay, and in real life, right, if you're wondering, okay, so this sort of AI system, what is it like, practical? Why do we need it in the first place? It is addressing some specific challenges that are faced by people who are working in the industry. Okay, first of all, I know based on experience that okay, most small enterprises, they do not have a dedicated staff that can look into these matters. Okay, of course, they have big clients, and these clients need a lot of specific data to meet their standards, etc. Okay, but most vendors will have a hard time because they don't really know, like, what to do, how to do it, etc. Okay, so this AI can do a good job here. Okay, it can act as a consultant, or it can act as a staff within the enterprise looking into these matters. Okay, so it can act to like collect the data, it can act to extract the information, it can act to put the data in a standard schema that is required, and then in a way, okay, yeah, this small enterprises, they'll get someone who is owning the workflow. Okay, someone who's responsible to the workflow. Okay, AI is perfect for this role. Okay, and then of course, for data collection facilitation, like sending RFI, following up. Okay, if you see this from the client's point of view, okay, they'll have like hundreds of vendors, right? And it gets really messy in real life. So with AI, you can kind of facilitate the process. You kind of clean up the incoming data and do some sort of pre-vetting to qualify the data. Okay, so and so this sort of architecture, if you can see how it works, right? If you can understand how it works, okay, hopefully based on the video we saw just now, okay, it can be used in many different use cases as well, as long there are this type of task or workflows that are involved. Okay, if you have to create a task list with deadlines, and you have to follow up with people. Okay, and then we can also when there's case where you have to set up databases, okay, custom databases where there's folders files and other sort of ways that you got to keep track of the data. Okay, and then we where you need to keep track of status and then send reminders and follow up. And then of course data entry and accountability. So when I say accountability is where just now in the example you would have noticed that when the PDF file came in, okay, the AI can actually add prefix to the PDF file when it's saving it, so that this can be traced back quite easily, and this file name can also be saved in the database itself, like the Excel file. So there's a lot of accountability. Like if you're looking for a supporting document for this particular data, you know where to look for. So this can be done, and because of that, it's very easy to make sure that the data is has quality or meets a certain requirement. Okay, so how complex can we go for this type of use cases? The simple answer is the limiting factor in this case is not AI. Okay, it is actually the user hardware and the user itself. Okay, if you know how to orchestrate a complex workflow, you can do it. Okay, if the PC can operate with a very advanced AI model, then you can even use a much so-called higher quality AI model. So in this case, we use Google's open weight AI model. Okay, the model name is Google's Gemma 4. Okay, this is an open weight model, and but there are also a lot of other different models available in the market. Okay, there is models from Meta, and there are a lot of good like models from China as well. Okay, and each of the models they have their own benefits, they have their own advantages and disadvantages. So it really depends on your use case, and then and testing which model is useful for you. And the good thing is, these open weight models, these free models, are only getting better over time. Okay, like if you compare, like Gemma 4, right? It's probably as good as how a frontier or top end cloud model was probably 1 or 2 years ago. So now this free model, open source model, open weight model is as good as like how the cloud models were some time ago. Okay, and then in this case, this training we're talking about open models, we're talking about free models, we're talking about open weight models, right? It does not need to be this model. Okay, if you need to, if there is a need, we can also always go for the cloud models as well. Okay, but this is not the scope of this particular training. Okay, so that's about it for this particular module. We will move into the next module. Moving on to the next module, module 2, where we look into the concepts on these open models. Okay, so I think most of us are probably familiar with AI in this sort of and in this part of the AI, the cloud AI. This is what almost I don't know, 98% of people are exposed to. Okay, where you use OpenAI's ChatGPT, there's Anthropic Claude, there's Google Gemini, there's DeepSeek, and also there's a very new good model from China as well, Kimi K3. Okay, this is how we are exposed to AI. So these are all cloud AI models. Okay, when I say cloud AI models is okay. Of course, the user interface sits in your device, your PC or your computer or your phone, right? Okay, but when you use the AI model, whatever that your data and all that, it goes to a cloud AI brain that sits in the cloud. Okay, and then it processes all the data and then gets back to you. Okay, so the other alternative for that is local AI. Okay, local AI is where the AI model or the AI brain itself sits in the PC itself. Okay, or your device. Okay, now there are actually AI models that can work in your phone as well, but very basic ones. There are models that can work in your laptop, like medium range, and then there are also models that can work in like high spec computers and all that. Okay, so and these AI models they can work without internet. Okay, and it's free to use because it's open source, open weight, etc. So example of this open source AI models is Meta or Facebook's Llama. Okay, there's also this model that we use for our use case is Google's Gemma 4. Okay, and then there are also lots of Chinese models. Okay, and for example, Quen 2.5, etc. and all that. So it's really, I mean, really depends on your use case. You can explore whatever model that meets your capability, and then you can test and see if it works for your use case or not. So that's the difference between cloud AI and local AI. Okay. So local AI models, I mean, if you notice, I've been using the word open source. I've been using the word open weight. I've been using free. I'm using local, etc. Okay, so there are some differences there. Okay, but overall the concept is the same. Whatever model that you can download and save in your device, you can use. These are open models. Okay, and open models are two distinct type. Okay, the first one is open source, and then another one is open weight. So what we're using now is open weight. Okay, but the open source. Okay, so the description is open source is where you get the entire model, where you get the data, you get the training data, you get the code, and you get a complete architecture where you can use the model, you can retrain the model, you can add more data and do whatever you want with the model. So this is the in true essence open source. Okay, this is like 100% full access to you. Okay, but what we're using in this case is open weight. Okay, and open weight is usually for people who are using the model, not redeveloping the AI model, right? We don't want to worry about all those technical parts on developing the model. There's a good model, we can use it for workflow, we just use it. Okay, so this is like a pre-trained model. Okay, we can download it, but we can also fine tune it a bit. We can give a bit of character to it. But in my use cases, just so that when we show, none of that was done. It just we download the model, we give kind of instructions to it, and then we give tools to it. Okay, so like I said just now, the model that we use is an open weight model from Google Gemma 4. Okay, Google Gemma 4. Okay, so if you guys are wondering, what is an AI model in the first place, how it looks like in your PC, it's basically a file. Okay, when you download the model, okay, what you get is few of these files in your PC. Okay, it's known as blobs and manifests, and the brain of the AI model actually sits in this thing. It's the folder called as blobs, and there are few files within the folder. Now, of course, these are quite big size file. It's like in this case, Google's Gemma 4, when I download it, is almost 9.4 GB. So it's a big file. Okay. And what this means, okay, I mean, to be honest, I don't even know what this means. Okay, it says that a model is a blob of single compiled binary file containing pre-trained mathematical numbers, okay, to dictate how neural. Okay, I mean, you understand this is good. I don't understand this, and I don't think it's even necessary for you to understand these technicalities for you to make use of open source, open weight AI models. Okay, so we got the AI model, right? Okay, this is the AI model. So this is what is in your PC. Okay, in order for you to access the AI model, we have to also download the AI engine. Okay, so this is the model. Okay, this is like the brain. Okay, of course we need someone who can interact with the brain. So this is an AI engine. Okay, an AI engine actually it runs the local models. It acts as a translator and coordinator between the model and us. Like our input goes to the model because our input is plain text. Okay, but what happens in the model is all mathematical equations, numbers, etc. So this AI, I mean, the AI engine does the conversion for this. Okay, and also of course it also deals with the hardware part. Okay, it loads the file, it allocates the memory, etc. Okay, and the example for AI engine, there's many available in the market. Ollama, LM Studio, etc. Okay, what we are using for our use case is Ollama. Okay, so this is the concept you have to understand. There is an AI model, which is Google Gemma 4 in our use case, and then there is an AI engine, okay, Ollama in our use case. You combine these two, you have your, I mean, if you have these two in your PC, you're able to use AI in your laptop or your PC. Okay, and the good thing is both are free to download, they are free to use. Okay, these are open source, they fall within the open source free usage license, etc. Okay, so if you notice, I mean, if you've been following this news about AI, apart from the regular user, if you've been following, you would understand that open models are getting a lot of attention now. Okay, why is it now? Okay, because recently there's been big issue. This is almost like political, geopolitical related. Okay, when US banned this entropic fable model because they say that it's really good, it's too good to be given to everybody, right? So because of that, I mean, obviously it had a lot of issues that people using the model and then suddenly they lose access to the model. So because of that, it kind of opened up to the idea that if you're going to rely on a cloud third party service provider where all your data is sitting on somebody else's server and then they can just close access to it just like that. So it is not a secure or a sustainable path for you to follow, right? Okay. And then number two is, of course, this is probably you're familiar if you're using AI for work. Okay. The token cost, which was used to be cheap and all that, has been increasing steadily. And then at one point, is for some users even quite ridiculously high. Okay. And then, of course, there's also this data privacy issues. Okay. We'll look into why this is an issue later. So we'll go back to the first one. Why? Sorry, we'll look into this increasing token cost examples. Okay, this is not a isolated case. This is what universally all the big time AI users are experiencing now, especially corporates. Okay, there has been cases where like single user, their API cost or AI usage cost or token costs cross like 100,000 US dollars because they are like heavy users and they use it for a lot of context, a lot of their workflows. Okay, so and and this like I said, this has been widely reported in many companies, and they're realizing that it's not as cheap as you fire an engineer and then replace with AI. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way because the AI cost in many cases is multiples of that salary of that engineer. Okay, so this is an issue that is getting a lot of attention now, and it's also causing a lot of rethinking among corporates. You can't just uh, rely on expensive cloud-based AI models. Okay, and then of course the next issue is the privacy issue, right? Okay, when you use AI models that is the cloud-based, right? Okay, you're actually paying two times. First time, of course, you're paying with the price itself. I mean, the subscription price itself. When you use AI model, you're paying. And number two, you're also paying when you give your data to them. Basically, your company's proprietary data, private data, or competitive information. Okay, all this information has to be given to the brain, which is sitting AI brain, which is sitting out there in the cloud, in order for it to work. Right? Okay, you need to know what you're doing, how you're doing, etc., so that you can get back to you with whatever advice. Right? Okay. So does this matter? When I say this is like a third party cloud sitting somewhere. Is it a big issue? Okay, if you understand this concept, okay, you might be concerned at some point, right? Okay, so why it's a big issue? Because we saw the AI models, right? Okay, it's basically a file that is sitting in a cloud, the brain that is sitting in a cloud, and in most cases, the cloud models, okay, they are all multi-tenant. Okay, when I say multi-tenant, there is one single brain that is sitting on in the cloud, and many all our input, all the different users, right? All this information, data input, all goes to the same AI brain. Okay, all goes to the same AI brain, despite being different users. Okay, and of course, because of this, the data leak is the risk of data leak is very high because it's the same brain, right? Okay, it gets whatever input from company A. Okay, and then it learns something from that, and then when company B is asking, it can also obviously refer back to the logic or the concept or some sort of learning from this company A. You can advise company B as well. So this is happening. Of course, companies claim that there's a lot of ways they can control this. There's a lot of privacy, etc. I mean, but it's really up to you. I mean, you be the judge. Okay, but if you understand this concept, you understand that it can never be as straightforward, right? It can never be as straightforward where they say that your data is your data. It's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. Okay, I'm not an expert in that. You be the judge. Okay, moving on to this. So, is this a big issue? Yes, it is a big issue because uh, if you look at the market, right? Okay, there's a lot of players now which are offering alternatives to multi-tenant architecture, right? Companies like Palantir, right? If you're familiar with that, you know that this is exactly what they do. Okay, they offer AI brains which like is single tenant. Like if one company there's only one AI brain, one AI infrastructure. So because of that, It's obviously significantly more expensive, but they seem to be making a lot of money now. It's a company that's growing very significantly. So there is a big demand for this concern, data privacy, like competitive value, etc., and all that. So that being said, okay, cloud AI models are still the most practical or the cheapest option available for most users because there is zero setup. Okay, you just need to log into your account, you just need to use it. Okay, and then you also get access to very powerful models. Okay, the only catch is, of course, there is a limit on the token usage. So the more you use, of course, you're gonna end up paying a lot more than the basic tier. Okay, and the good thing is you don't need to have any powerful hardware as well. Okay, so it just works in any PC, any laptop, even in a mobile phone. And because of that, you just log in, you use it, so you don't have to worry about any of the technicalities. Because of that, it's still a very practical approach for most people. Okay, and that being said, okay, moving on to we look at some of the examples, some of the advantages of local AI models, right? Okay, the first thing or the biggest selling point for local AI model is this complete privacy. Okay, local AI models work without internet. Okay, this you download the model, you you switch off your internet, you can still use the AI model. It does the job. It does whatever it needs to do. Okay, and then of course, if you know how to set it up and all that, after that there's no fees to it because it's the model works in the PC. As long as your hardware can support it, you can use it non-stop without any fees, without any cost. Okay, and so there's no usage limit. And of course, I mean, we saw this works offline, and as a user you can custom design workflows in any way, right? Because the model sits in your PC, that you can just plug in the model for any workflows, you can call the model for any workflows without any restrictions. So these are the advantages of local AI models, and the disadvantages are, obviously, it requires a good hardware, especially for the large models. Okay, there are AI models which are available now, open models are available now that can run on your mobile as well, but these are very basic AI models. Okay, and the good ones obviously require powerful chipset, powerful graphic card, etc. Okay, and the other disadvantage is usually the local models are usually one level below compared to like the frontier models on how smart they are. Obviously, they're not going to give away the smartest model for free, right? So the local models are usually, or the free models are usually one level below. But if you ask me now, okay, most models are good enough to do most of the job. I mean, most of the job needed, right? Um, and of course, the other limitation is going to be you need to know how to use it. You need to know how to download. You need to know how to set up. You need to know like how to configure this model, the architecture, and all that. So you need the technical knowledge, and of course, you're also responsible for the updates and the maintenance because it's sitting offline. Okay. So again, we saw the disadvantages, but the thing is, I want to highlight is the performance gap between top end cloud models compared to the free models. It's actually closing very fast because open models of this year is as good as like the cloud models of last year. That's the sort of thing we're talking about. And another important thing is, for most of our use cases, we don't need a very smart model. Okay, we just need a model like Google Gemma 4. They got few types to it. The high end Google Gemma 4 is actually very good. Okay, it's good enough for most enterprise use cases. Okay, so why I say this is because you see the frontier models from the cloud based models, right? The top end models, they are very good for coding, they are good for advanced analysis, they're good for high performance maths, science related stuff. But if you think about it, okay, in normal business workflows, you don't need this sort of performance. All you need is a model that is good enough to understand the basic logic, basic patterns, and the parts that you have in your business. And this can be done very well by open source, open weight models. Okay, so the only trick here is, of course, the hardware, and then it has to be orchestrated properly. That means you must know how to call in the model, what sort of tools to use, etc. Okay, So this is about it for this module. Moving on to the next module, we look into the architecture that we need to set up and run these systems in our PC. Uh, just to clarify, this course will not cover step-by-step instructions on how we can do it. Okay, because we don't have time for that. This is just an introduction on the concepts and like the fundamentals of what we need to know if you're gonna set up this sort of system in your own workflows or PC. Okay, so what you need is there's two parts to it. Okay, the software part and the hardware part. Okay, the software part we saw just now, AI models. Okay, AI engine, we know that. Okay, and then the next part to it is of course the logic. Is of course the logic, the code. Okay, and then the user interface. Okay, since the AI is, I mean, be able to when you open we saw that in the video just now there is a user interface that able to chat and all that. Okay, and then when we do some things we ask it to send an email and all that. So this is the part that is handled by that. Okay, there's AI model, there's AI engine. Okay, and then this part is the one that we have to custom build for our use cases. Okay, and then of course for the hardware, I would say we need, okay, I mean, it works in a laptop, it works in my laptop. Okay, but we need some sort of mid-range or upper mid-range sort of spec in order for it to work well. So hardware for this use case, let's start with the hardware first. The model we used was Gemma 4 E4B. Okay, in Gemma 4 they have four different models. Okay, there's one model that is I think E2B, which is made for mobile phones. Okay, so that's a very basic model that can do stuff in mobile phones. And then E4B is designed for like regular laptops. Okay, I mean I would say regular. It's slightly upper sort of level laptops. And then they have two more layers which are designed for like higher spec computers. Okay, so this, okay, the description from Google itself is ultra high efficient multi-model. Okay, run out locally on mobile phones. I guess when you say mobile phones, you're talking about like super high-end mobile phones and consumer laptops. Okay, the recommended requirements or specs is RAM minimum is 16 GB. Okay, and then preferably you should have also a GPU or graphics processing unit. Like in my case, I got my laptop. It has a 16 GB RAM, and this is has a GPU NVIDIA RTX 3060, which has a 6 GB VRAM. Okay, if you're familiar with this, okay, my laptop is not a high-end laptop at today's age. Okay, this probably 4 years ago. This was a mid-range to upper mid-range, right? But it works. My laptop was actually from an era right before, I guess, the AI became mainstream, right? So this was not actually designed for AI, okay, but it still works, right? So if you go for any upper mid-range laptop now, I mean, if your budget is around 4 to 5,000 ringgit in Malaysia, you'll get a laptop that is plenty sufficient to run AI models within the laptop, right? Because current AI models, I mean, current laptops, if you go with a 32 GB RAM and maybe 12 GB VRAM, it's good enough to run AI models. Okay, so in my case, right, since mine is, see, this is the requirement, right? Okay, and mine is sitting right on the dot. I mean, like the most minimum requirement is meeting only. So because of that, I do have issues sometimes. Okay, sometimes when I have more than few programs running, it does have memory issues. So when you run the system, it shows that it doesn't have enough memory, so it will crash. So this is a known issue that you should be anticipating depending on your hardware conditions. So these are the so-called the recommended specs for AI models. Okay, I would say on average we should be looking at this range, right? We should be looking at 32 GB RAM and then minimum 8 GB VRAM, or recommended is maybe 12 GB VRAM. Okay, so there's two parts, right? 32 GB RAM and then there's also 12 GB VRAM. So if you have that, I think most of the mid-range AI models will run very comfortably without any issues. And of course, I mean, like enterprises can also, like bigger enterprises, they can also consider going for high-end, so-called high-end rigs, which can be there if you're doing custom AI model development. Like if you got, like, if you got AI that you want to train to be an expert in your particular company data, right, and all that, so you can consider going for high end infrastructure. But in most cases, we're looking at this first two cases. If you're just an AI user, this is the case. Okay, so the software part, we look into the software part. Okay, at this point of time, okay, uh, anyone can build custom solutions for any enterprises now. Okay, this is where AI is standing now. Okay, you can quite easily develop custom softwares, custom workflows, custom codes, scripts that can do functions. So this is not a challenge at all. Okay, so let's get that part out of the concern, right? Okay, so you don't have to know how to code, but you can still develop code, because what you need now is a very clear understanding on the workflow and the logic, so that you can orchestrate the process, or like the entire logic. When this happens, when this data comes in from this place, what you must do, and then how do you manipulate the data, what formula you're going to use, and all that. So if you know all this, the coding part is not a problem. Okay, this is what AI is good at nowadays. Okay, so in our use case that we saw just now, right, the tech stack that is used is, we have this so-called 4 or 5 tech stack. Of course, Excel is, if you're going to consider that as a tech stack, you can consider that as a tech stack. That's for the database. Everyone knows Excel, right? Okay, we also saw what is the brain of the LLM. Okay, Gemma, Google Gemma 4. This can be any other AI model, open AI model as well. Okay, the engine is Ollama. Okay, of course, there are other options as well. And then the user interface, in this case, how we develop that little screen that was be able to chat and all that, we use Streamlit for that. Okay, Streamlit. And then of course the AI, when you talk to the AI, when you ask it to do some things, it needs to have access to tools. So these tools is where it's basically functions which are coded using Python language, and Python language can access stuff in your PC, in your computer. You can do things in your PC, right? So that's the Python. So we look into the details on this. Okay, in the brain, we know it's running locally using the Ollama engine. It handles all the logical part, or the AI part of it. Okay, when you talk to it, okay, it knows, like, what tool to call. It will understand what the user is asking for, and for this particular request, what you must do, and all that. So all this logic can be prompted into the AI model. Okay, so it knows, like, it knows how to recognize what is the intent, because you have tools which are fixed, the tool to fix things. Okay, but when you talk to AI, you don't necessarily call that particular tool. You tell, okay, I want you to check, for example, I want you to check if this data has been received. Okay, so what that means is the AI need to figure out, okay, when the user says this, I must go check the email, I must look for this particular data. Okay, so that means he has to call that particular tool, which is kind of hard coded, right? Okay, so this is what the brain, the AI model does. Okay, and then the interface is straightforward. Okay, we can design any interface in any way that we want to. So this is not something you need to worry about. Okay, and how easy it is, you just need to tell AI, when you're designing this, I want this AI to have this interface. It will just give you the code for that, so that can be done, no problem. Okay, so the hard part for me, it was here. Okay, the hands, the eyes, or the logic of it. Okay, this is where we need to know what tool to call. We have to define the tool, what the tool has to do, how, etc. All this has to be defined in a very specific manner. So this is where your brain, your understanding of the workflow comes into. You must know, like, what formula to call, what file to call, what logic to use, and all this. Okay, by having all this, you can kind of hard code those into functions in Python, and these functions will be called by the AI model. Okay, so it can, I mean, when Python literally can do anything in your PC. Okay, it can create files, it can create folders, it can read PDF, it can open up Excel file, it can read data from the Excel file, it can connect to your email server, it can read the email, it can send email, it can download stuff from email. Of course, subject to like, connecting this to your email as well, but all this can be done. Okay, and then the data storage is also, again, it's also quite flexible. You can use your local Excel file if you don't want to be cloud based, or we can also do a cloud-based data, like you can use Google Drive as well. Okay. So again, back to this, right? You saw this use case example, the proof of concept that we showed just now, right? It was done by me, created by me, without the help of any coders. And I'm not a programmer. Okay, my background is engineering, and I've always worked as a consultant. Okay, I've not worked as a programmer or coder at any point of my life. Okay, so for this, right, you need probably when you're developing the logic and all that, you probably need a good AI model. Okay, so this is where I actually relied on a cloud AI model, which is Google Gemini 3.1 Pro, which is a very good model at one point, but now it's probably, you can say it's average, because there are lots of good models now. So, but you can use any like cloud is very good at coming out with codes, logics, functions, etc. Okay, so you can use a cloud model to develop a solution that works as a local model, like open model, right? Okay, so as long you know what you want, AI can design the software for you. So your job is only to orchestrate, come up with a clear workflow, come up with a clear idea of what you want, and then you can talk to AI. You can come up with a code, whatever for this. So as I mentioned earlier, okay, we are not going to look into the details or step-by-step details on how we can develop these solutions. Okay, first of all, there's no time for that, and it's not the scope of this training. It's introductory in nature, right? So if you guys have ideas on what you want to do, but if you want to like learn how to do it, you can actually reach out to me. I can probably do a separate training on that. This can also be a HRDF claimable training. Okay, moving on to the next module. This is going to be the use case number 2 example. Okay, so use case number 2 is going to be a much simpler example. This is going to be a data entry agent or data collection agent, where it collects data from PDF for this scope, accounts payable related scope of works. Okay, so companies, the context and the concept. Okay, companies receive a lot of PDFs from a lot of different vendors, and usually there's some person who's going to like download this from email. They have to manually look for the data. They have to key in the data in Excel, and then that's how they keep track and follow up from that. Okay, so AI can actually do that job. Okay, so this will we'll look into uh, an example of proof of concept of this in a video next. And this AI is, I mean, this sort of AI assistant is designed primarily to be used by the data entry clerk or a management clerk. Okay, so the workflow is this: AI can initiate again the folder structures and the data schema. Okay, whatever data you want to collect, you can kind of design it, and then there is a folder in the system. Okay, when you download and then you put in the PDFs. In this case, this video it will show you do it in a manual way, but we can also do it in a way that you can extract automatically from emails as well. That can be done as well. And then what this AI does is it runs through the PDF, it extracts the data according to the set schema, whatever information that you need, it can extract that, and then it also adds a prefix to that file that is saved in a different folder, so that there's easy traceability to that. And then of course you can also chat with this user interface. I mean, this AI model. You can ask questions like, if there's any invoices pending by this week, anything you're gonna settle by this week. Since the AI can access to the database, you can also answer based on that. And of course we can do a lot more to that, but this proof of concept video is just gonna show up to this level. Let's look at the video now. Okay, so that was a quick demo on how a data collection agent works. Um, so this same architecture can also be used for a lot of different use cases in your enterprise. For example, you can use a HR onboarding agent, right? So this agent can have a list of tasks that needs to be done for each new, let's say, staff, right? So you can do based on whatever logic that we set up. You can send email, you can get data, you can fill up forms, etc. All these things can be done. Okay, and of course there's I mean the architecture is really flexible to be used in many other use cases, like claims processing, uh, project structure setting up, etc. So that's about it for this training. Okay, it is a short training. The idea was to give an introduction to the concept, and if you're going to develop the systems, you should be able to at least know what you need, and you know which direction to take. Okay, so we saw some use case examples. We also saw the trends on why open models are becoming very famous now. Okay, it's a huge, it's a huge trend for anyone who's taking AI seriously, because of whatever limitations and the issues with privacy, and also the fact that open models, the cloud models can be banned by the government because of some random geopolitical issue, etc. Okay, so because of that, you need a model that is, it's reliable, it works for you, and it's not really subject to all these external factors. Okay, we also saw some of the benefits and disadvantages of open models. Okay, and then we also saw, like, what is the sort of architecture that we need to build custom solution for our use case. So that's about it for this training. I hope it was beneficial enough for you or inspiring enough for you to start developing your own solutions, custom solutions using open AI models. In any case, if you guys want to reach out to me, this is my contact. You can reach out to me if you are thinking about developing custom solutions. I can also do like a custom training for that, which is HRDF claimable, or general consultancy as well. Thank you very much.